3, 2, 1.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Carlene
plus Jaime.
Yes. How are you feeling today, Jaime?
I feel good. Today was a great day. This week was Juneteenth, so we celebrating America's freedom, not just Black freedom, but America's freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, it was nice to take the girls to a festival. Mm-hmm. I think this was our first Juneteenth festival that we experienced with them in this way.
Right.
Because you did do a program, I think it was about 2 years ago when we were in Texas that they attended. But this felt very organic, very like wholesome in a sense where it was just like they had a lot of activities for the kids.
I love it because it wasn't a lot of people. It wasn't crowded. There was space to move around. They had the drumming. I forgot the name of the group, but it was great because there weren't a lot of people there.
Yes, lots of culture as well.
Less people.
And we truly appreciate immersing our girls based on the conversation that we have been having over the course of 3 weeks, I think it is. We were talking about like how to raise resilient Black queens in Trump's America. And I think it just kind of culminates in this way on Juneteenth being where we celebrate us.
Right.
And so, so I really enjoyed that thoroughly. And, I feel like those very small moments of culture really, or big moments, really, I think helps to create a really great balance for our girls, just infusing them with our culture. I think it's just something that matters to us and hopefully it matters to our girls.
That's right. It matters in our parenting.
It does. It definitely does. How was your week this week? I know you said that you're feeling good. Today, it's a great day, but how was your week? Like, how are you feeling?
It was all right. My week was good. It was wash, rinse, repeat. So it was nothing outside of the ordinary, nothing new. It was basically just a good week because everything that happened was expected. That's how I like my week. I don't like surprises. I don't like things to go off. I like to drive the same way to work, drive the same way home, come home, do the same thing. That is a great week for me. Mm-hmm. No surprises.
Okay. Well, for me, not that you asked, but I'm gonna.
Oh yeah, my bad. How was your week, Carlene?
My week was a pretty good week. It was a pretty good week.
What made it good?
A few things made it good. I think connecting with God differently than I have been in the past. I feel like I've been on a journey to finding out like what my gifts are, like really pleading and asking the Spirit like to just help me to discern what those gifts are so that I can use them to God's glory. But also I feel as though that I've been really just trying my best to be in God's word, but also be in communication with God, but also connecting with you. I feel as though that also makes my week great because I really get to connect with you where we can like legit just talk about any and everything. And like you are like my, the calm. And so I appreciate that.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. Thank you.
Yes. There's something I also wanted to share about this week. There's a lot going on in the news. There's a lot going on in our Adventist circle for those who care, or for those who do not care. There's just so many different things going on. And I'm reading this book. Actually, Caitlin and I are reading this book, Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi. I'm going to get the last name wrong, so I don't even want to say it. But essentially, I've been listening to it. I've been listening to it, and Caitlin's been reading it. And it's a quote that I shared with you this week that really kind of got me, that preached the sermon to me. And so I want to read it, if that's okay.
It's cool with me. I can't say no, so.
I mean, you can,
but you
sure.
ain't like you gonna not do it.
No, if you say no, I'll be like, all right, I'll just chill.
No.
What?
All right.
Okay. And so one of the quotes was, you know how to win, just make sure you know when to fight. And I felt like that was just so impactful in that you always preach I remember you always say we fight as winners, not as losers, right? Like when we enter the ring of life, like we should not fight as though we are losing. We should fight as though we are winning.
Right.
But I think this takes it to the next level where it says, you know how to win, just make sure you know when to fight.
Right.
Pick
your battles.
That's right. Not every battle is worth fighting.
Right.
Right. And so, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Not every battle is worth fighting. Like, going to your point about in our Adventist world and what's happening with a certain sermon and something that was said. And I think that's not a fight worth fighting against those crazy conservatives that always show up. And I also want to say to those crazy conservatives, you are the very reason why people call us a cult when you do things like that, right? That you can't be so open enough to be objective and listen to something that's outside of what you might think is right, that you only think it's one way. You are the reason why they do videos and they call us a cult. And then we all get looped into that. So is it a battle worth fighting? I say no. I think I used to fight that battle. I used to try to preach those sermons and try to pull them along. And I'm just like, you know what? Bump that. I'm going to just talk to the people that want to hear me.
That's right.
And I ain't got no time for that. But shout out to Claudia Allen for standing on business.
Yes, ma'am.
And for telling it like what the Spirit told her to say. And I stand. I find no fault in what she said. I find
no fault in her.
I find no fault.
Yes.
But nevertheless,
we have a topic.
That's
tonight.
right. We're not here to talk about the church.
And as you saw, and for those of you who saw the our what is it called, the
Raising Black Queens in Trump's America,
saw the picture for this episode.
Oh yes,
I forgot what it's called.
Call a thumbnail.
There it is, a thumbnail. We're gonna go ahead and play the video for you all right now. And we'll be right back.
We made a very, very, very terrible mistake with our children, and we went with radical honesty. So don't do it. No, listen. It's terrible because they do whatever they want, and they just come tell you.
All right, so you just watched it. You watched what we saw. And so it was Will Smith essentially saying, I don't know, in a very regretful way, saying what?
He's talking about how he regrets radical truth with his kids. And you saw the clip. He's having regrets because he said that they do things, then tell them after. The question is, how long after do they reveal it?
Correct.
But nevertheless, what it sounds like to me is that Will and Jada allow Willow and Jaden
and the other son.
And
there are three of them.
There are three of them. The third one we don't really see that much.
No, because he's much older. But I believe Jada and Will has two children that we know.
And those two, well, we'll say all three, but those two have the freedom to parent themselves in some way to do whatever they want to do, and then they will tell them what they've done later on. Right?
Yes.
I wonder, the oldest one, that's Will's son with someone else. It's interesting.
I don't know the story.
Yeah.
And I don't want to pretend like I know his story or their story. But speaking on that parenting style, we've had episodes that we've talked about different parenting styles, and we even talked about our parenting styles and how they're similar but also different. So as it relates to this style, I guess we want to kind of talk to you guys too and let us know, like, do you agree with that kind of parenting style where essentially you want your child to never lie to you? You want them to always tell the truth, whether it is going to be something that they know that for sure the parents will probably be disappointed or upset about, that they should always tell the truth. And I'm asking, like, do you guys agree with that, I guess, with that approach to parenting or not? And so for you, do you feel like you agree with that kind of parenting where your kids should be able to come and tell you anything? It doesn't matter what it is, that they should have the freedom to tell you whatever it is that they've done, said, whatever.
I think most parents would want that. I think most parents would want their children to be honest with them, upfront with them, and to speak to them about challenges, life, or things that they've done. Now, can most parents handle that? That's the other part.
That part.
But I think I would say, and I'm sure the audience is going to chime in on the poll or however, that I would say that most parents would want that. I would want that. Would you want that?
Yes, I would. I mean, and we've talked to Caitlin and Amber about, it doesn't matter what it is. Just make sure that you tell us the truth. Like, we are always going to love you. There's nothing you can do or say that would make us love you any less. Now, there are consequences. And so I think that insertion of consequences is what creates that. I'm not sure if I'm going to share this particular thing with my mom or my dad, because I know that there are consequences that are going to be had. And so it seems as though this approach that Will had with his kids, it seems as though, like, just tell me, I may or may not you may or may not have consequences, but it just seems as though it's like free, open, like, just tell me and you won't get in trouble.
Right.
I don't agree with that.
Right. I don't
agree with that.
Yeah, I don't agree with it either, only from the standpoint that I believe all humans need boundaries. Regardless of how old you are. And once you are a human, you need boundaries. Even like we train I hate train, but we teach even babies, right? Like our daughters, we gave them boundaries. We had a bedtime. We had what they can do. So, and I think even as adults, you need to give other adults boundaries and set boundaries for yourself. So when it comes to children whose brains aren't fully developed, who haven't really experienced a lot of things in life, I'm not comfortable with letting them do whatever they want to do and then they come back after and tell me. And that's for the reason that I know I need boundaries. So I can't imagine somebody who is 5 or 7 without boundaries. And I've seen your kids that don't have boundaries, and I don't like being around them.
Yeah, it's a little bit challenging for sure when you have children that don't have those boundaries, because it's almost like a free for all. There's like there's no sort of ability to be able to regulate emotions, right? It's just like a very open, very like carefree. And I do not agree with that style of parenting for sure. Because even in the classroom, I would see that kind of parenting and I'm just like, whoa. Yeah, we're not doing that here in this classroom. You could do that at home, but here we do not do that. So I think it's important to have those boundaries. However, I think it's important for your, I think at the cusp of it, you want your children to be able to trust you and you should be able to trust your children, your child. I feel like it goes both ways.
Yeah, I agree. I think it goes both ways. And I think as the child gets older, those boundaries get broadened. Or what I say is like, because I would say you don't want your kids to live in a prison.
Correct.
All their lives. Because I think that will cut off the communication, right? If you lock them up, you don't allow them to make certain choices for themselves. Because what's the purpose of training them? Or I hate the word training. What's the purpose of raising them, teaching them? You teaching them for moments like this, like when we let Caitlin go to a party, or we let Amber go somewhere, or we let Caitlin go on a trip to Toronto. You know, I think if we locked her up and told her you can't go anywhere, that would make her close up.
Correct.
So I think as the older they get, the more trust you put into them is the more you're willing to broaden those boundaries or their realm or what they can't do.
Yeah, but I think the boundaries should be appropriate, age appropriate.
True.
Right? I don't feel like you should have the same boundaries that a child has when they are 2 years old. It should not be the same when they are 15 years old, right? I feel like it should change. And I think boundaries should be tailored to the child.
Right.
I don't think that there should be this like, okay, this is something that should work for all kids. This is something that should work all the time, regardless of the personality of the child. I think for sure you have to keep in consideration your child. You should know your child and should know what boundaries, what things to set in place in order to help them to understand, like, hey, I'm trying my best to protect you in this moment or these moments. I'm really trying to place within you skills to not help you for today, but skills that will help you tomorrow, like how to be a woman or a man of integrity, right? Like that your word is your bond. Like if you give your word, if you say that I'm doing this, that this is what exactly you should be doing. And if you if you come out of that realm, then there are possibilities that things may change because now you have crossed that line, or you have created that mistrust. And so I think it's just important for you to know your child, for you to tailor those boundaries according to what their needs are, but also be willing to trust them, to kind of release those reins from them so that they can have that freedom in being able to choose and decide, and sometimes fall on their faces and fall hard so that they can understand why those boundaries are in place.
Yeah, where you were talking, I was thinking about that book that you always mention or that you've read, Raising an Adult.
Yes.
Right?
How to raise an adult.
How to raise an adult. And I think that is our goal, right? And I think
exactly
that's our goals, is to raise adults. And I think if you raise your kids without boundaries, they grow up without boundaries. They grow up doing what they want to do without respect of others. So it's me, and I don't care about how you feel about it.
Yes.
And I think that's what's important, is that we're trying to raise our kids to be fully functioning contributors of society, adults. And that also means not doing everything for them.
Correct.
Right? We're raising them so that they learn how to be self-sufficient and they're able to stand on their own. And that requires boundaries.
That requires boundaries. And so, yes, for some families, I think the radical truth telling, as I think Will Smith called it, that may work for some. But I can almost guarantee, like him, he was like, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it, because you understand that, again, you want to know just about everything your child is doing, whether good or bad. But there's just some things that, I don't think you should know everything.
Right. I don't think I want to know everything.
Yeah, I think,
even though I say I want to.
There's just some things, some things better, once, of course, they're not harming themselves, they're not harming others. And, I know it's hard because at the same time, I'm like, I think I do want to know everything, right? I want them to be able to be comfortable enough, Caitlin and Amber, to be comfortable enough to come to us with anything.
Yeah. I think for me, I want to know they know how to handle the situations. Mm-hmm. I want to be confident in that they will not succumb to peer pressure. They will not succumb to someone bullying them, that they'll know how to make the right decision or the best decision. Mm-hmm. That's what I would like. That's what I want to be confident in, that whenever they are off and they're on their own, when they go to college, and you're an adult when you're in college, for most people, that they're making the best decisions that they can make. Mm-hmm. I do want to know when they make mistakes and to be there to help them through or to process things and to kind of support them. But as far as knowing everything, I guess I need to do some work on me to be able to handle everything.
Right.
And to be the kind of parent that will listen rather than being super reactive or get mad. Like, I'm going to bring this in right now, like Forever. Mm-hmm. You remember, spoiler alert to those of you that are watching it still, but when she told her mom about what happened and how the mom reacted.
Yeah.
Like, in that moment, I wish the mom didn't react like that.
Yeah.
So if one of our daughters comes with a story similar or like that, I want to be able to react, to be calm, cool, collective, breathe.
Lots of breathing,
and be able to navigate them through the situation.
Yeah. That's the hope and prayer, right? As parents, that you will be able to, in those moments, not induce trauma to your kid, more trauma to your child.
To an already traumatic situation.
Exactly, but to be a soft space, a soft landing where they can feel safe and they can also feel love.
Yeah.
So yeah, and as we were talking about this episode and just talking through, like, as parents, you and I have conversations like this all the time, because I think parenting is such a unique, amazing, but at the same time, confusing, filled with worry and unsurety. Like, it's just this really funky place where you're just trying to figure it out. Like, you're literally trying to figure out this thing. It's play by play. There is no playbook that's going to tell you, if this happens, when this happens, this is exactly what you should do. Instead, you're literally taking it play by play. And there's some things that you try your best to prepare yourself for. And then there's some things where you can't, and you're literally learning on the fly. You're really trying to figure it out. And I think it's important that you communicate that to your child. Like, it should be something that they're very much aware that, I do not have this thing, or I do not have this parenting thing down pat. Like, it's literally trial and error, right? Yeah. Today, we may do something and it'll be like amazing. You feel on top of the world. You're like, yeah, I did that as a parent. I'm winning, right? And then another situation may happen and you're like, I feel like I suck as a parent. Like, I don't feel like I'm doing as much as I should be doing for my child, for my children. You know what I mean? Like, I wish I did this better or did that better. And so just trying to really create balance, create what I felt like I didn't have, create what I did have, and try to mesh that all together with what you had and what you didn't have, and just really trying to make sense of it all.
Yeah, because I think sometimes what doesn't make sense is you're parenting you.
Yeah.
Like, you're parenting a mini version of yourself.
Very true.
And I know for me, it's oftentimes I have to pause myself and I'm like, that's me. Like, I do that. Like, I'm looking at myself,
Mercy,
right?
Lord.
So it's almost like
not the mirror.
right. It's almost like regulating yourself. And to your point, what we do is not necessarily what you will do with your children, because your children are your children. They're different. Like you said, there's no manual, there's no book. It is a day-by-day, step-by-step process. But I think there are certain principles
that should be put in place.
That should be put in place. And those are, if you know your child, set boundaries for them. Like I remember going to church, and there'll be that one kid that this kid needs to be sitting next to their parent.
But they not.
But they not sitting with their parent. They are all over the place. You go to a restaurant, and the kids is bouncing all over the place, and you want to go up to the parent and say, "That's your child. Please, please, I'm begging you," right? Whatever. But people parent differently, and maybe that works for them. But I think at the end of the day, what I want to double down on is, how are we raising adults that are respectful of others and fully functioning in a positive way in society? Because we have to share this world. We have to share these spaces. We have to share church. And I don't need people who just feel like they could do whatever they want, say whatever they want in my space, right? There is a contract that we sign. It's invisible, but that contract says, respect me, respect yourself, and we good to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so I have so over the years, in my experience working as an educator, one of the things that I find with some parents is they're not 100% sure how to parent. They don't know how. They're literally, as I just said, learning on the fly. Sometimes stressors, the outside stress, or maybe even stress in the home, contributes to how you parent. Sometimes how you were parented also affects how you parent a child, or your child rather. Yeah. And so all those variables coming into the mix of it sometimes creates chaos, sometimes create children who don't have those boundaries because parents just don't know, legit don't know what to do.
Right.
When a child has a meltdown, it's very stressful. It is so stressful to see that your child essentially they have completely lost all logical understanding and they are just having a tantrum or having a moment. And that can be super stressful. And sometimes for parents, because they don't know how to react to that, in a, I don't want to say sensible, but in an aware way, some parents give in, right? Where they coddle, where they kind of break their backs to kind of make the child stop at whatever cost. Sometimes some parents become even more angry and they take that anger out on the child. And now the child is experiencing trauma because their parent is literally abusing them or belittling them or making them feel unsafe. And especially sometimes when kids have meltdown, those are opportunities for you to kind of show your child that they're in a safe space, right? That they're safe.
Right.
Trying to quiet them down, trying to, give them what they need is sometimes super, not give them what they need. Sometimes when you give into them, into their tantrum by what's the word? The word I'm looking for is by rewarding that kind of behavior. those are things that are going to make it worse. I think I usually say children need to have their moment, right? They need to have the freedom and the ability. You want to go ahead. I remember Caitlin and Amber. You want to go ahead and cry. You want to go ahead and roll on the floor and just have whatever, those emotions out. Have at it. Just make sure you're not hurting yourself or hurting someone, but go ahead and have at it. And then after they calmed down, we made sure that we were prepared to receive them a safe place by giving them a hug or talking them through the emotions that they were feeling. And so I think sometimes parents don't have that ability in those moments, especially to say, yo, I need to give them a moment, or I myself need a moment. Because for whatever reasons, the child is having this emotional breakdown. I think it is imperative for parents to understand their child and to also understand that it's okay for children to have moments, and there's just so much. And I think as an educator, of course, my brain goes into, the educator part of my brain. And I understand that all parents don't have that awareness. But some of the things I just mentioned, I think is just super important in your parenting. When you're parenting children who needs boundaries, it's okay for them to scream and cry. Like, it's okay for kids to feel those emotions, because I believe that's when they begin to understand and know how to regulate those emotions by themselves on their own. Because you don't want them to grow up as adults. I mean, some of us may have encountered people who have meltdowns or tantrums, and you're like, whoa, what is this?
Right.
But it's because it was unchecked when they were children. And so they grow up into this kind of spoiled, they can talk to anybody anyway. They can do whatever they want and never have consequences to kind of keep them regulated. So I know I just went off on a tantrum, but I just do think it's important to have those boundaries so that children can learn how to independently regulate those emotions independently.
Yeah, I think those are all excellent points. And I think that's actually a good place to wrap up. And just talking about parenting. And I think in our next episode, maybe we could talk about, because as you were talking, I was thinking about parents need not to be afraid of their children. And also allowing them to cry, like allowing them to experience their full emotions and how to regulate them. So I think maybe we could elaborate more. I know you are the professional at that. We could elaborate more on that, about being firm and allowing your kids to cry. We could talk about Caitlin when we were teaching her to sleep in her own bed and to get her out of our bed, and how difficult of the process that was and what we went through. So yeah, I think that was, I think what you said was spot on. There was no other way that I think I could say it better than how you said it.
Thank you. Thank you for that. But yeah, I do think this was a really good conversation.
Me too.
About Will Smith and how his regret on his parenting style. And, sometimes, sorry, you want to say something?
You can finish your statement. I'm going to remember it.
Sometimes, you think down the road, it's like, is it too late to kind of, you have those regrets as a parent, like, and you try to think through, like, man, if I did it this way, would they have been better off? Or, you know what I mean? Like, is that thing that you constantly go back and forth with as a parent, trying to figure out, like, dang, was that a mistake? Dang, is that something that's going to require them to be on somebody's couch? You know what I mean? Like, there's just so many different things going through your mind as a parent. But I do think it's important to recognize that to recognize we are humans trying to figure out other human beings. It's so complex, but it's so beautiful. And I think to your point where you just said, like, how important it is not to be afraid of your child. Like, you can have conversations with your child. You can break things down to your child to help them understand what it is that you're saying. You know, it just doesn't always have to be where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm afraid that they're gonna break, or I'm afraid that they're gonna. No, it's okay. Like, embrace the hard of parenting.
Yeah, for
Sorry,
sure.
You were gonna say.
I was just gonna say, shout out to Will Smith, and you alluded to it as well. Shout out to Will for his honesty, and I think all parents, I'm assuming, at some point you will have some regrets, like that you wish you could go back and do differently. And I think that's maybe the joy or the sorrow, joy and pain of parenting, is that there's no blueprint, there's no manual. It's, you know, you're gonna have some regrets, but you hope that you have more moments of joy, and you have to create those. But I think we're all gonna be at some point as we get older, and as we look back, we'll be like, dag, I could have done this differently. And, you know, for Will to come out public and to say that, I don't want to tear him down, because I think that took a lot to express, like, yeah, we messed up, right? Or, yeah, we wish, not messed up, we wish we would have done things differently. So shout out to Will for his radical honesty.
Yes, facts. And thank you all for joining us on this another episode of Carlene plus Jaime. Go ahead and you know what to do. We love the fact that we have almost 760 followers. We're almost to that 800 mark. We keep praying and hoping that more and more of you would subscribe to our content, as well as like and comment, and even put on the notifications so that when we have our episode when it airs on Friday at 8 Eastern Standard Time, that it'll notify you, let you know that, hey, go ahead and join in on the live conversation, as well as the live on YouTube. But yeah, we're so grateful for you all. We hope that you have a wonderful weekend. And anything else, Jaime?
No, peace, love, and hair grease.
Peace, love, and hair grease. It's your girl, Carlene.
It's your boy, Jaime.
Peace.